In the heart of the ancient kingdom of Orlan, where the golden sun kissed marble towers and the scent of jasmine floated through sapphire skies, the day of the annual Foundation Awards had arrived. It was a celebration unlike any other, a fusion of history, hope, and honor. And this year, King Alarion III had planned something extraordinary, something whispered across the realm in excited tones and embroidered into the dreams of every artisan, scholar, and citizen alike. The awards, held once every decade, recognized not warriors or royalty, but builders, those who laid the metaphoric and literal bricks of Orlan's thriving civilization. From the engineers of cloud bridges to the weavers of educational scrolls, from the midwives of forgotten villages to the gardeners who stitched life into barren stone, all were potential honorees. The Foundation Awards were the heartbeat of the kingdom's spirit. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. But what made this year's celebration different was the king himself. Alarion was not a monarch of pompous rituals. He was young, no older than 35, with eyes like a storm about to break and a voice that could bend steel or soothe thunder. Raised not only by governors and tutors, but by traveling among the people during his youth, he understood something rare: empathy. In the twilight before the event, the castle transformed into a sanctum of shimmering elegance. The royal hall of Celestine, an opulent chamber carved from white marble and etched with golden vines, had never seen such splendor. Floating lanterns hung midair, tethered by invisible threads of enchantment. Musicians from the far provinces tuned instruments made of glass and silverleaf. And on the dais stood the king's throne, flanked by 7 obsidian pillars representing the 7 pillars of the kingdom: wisdom, kindness, innovation, justice, craft, resilience, and unity. The procession began at the first light of dawn. A horn, carved from the tusk of an ancient sky whale, let out a low, resonant call across the capital. Citizens lined the sunlit avenues as a caravan of open, floral-draped carriages made its way from the city gates to the palace, each bearing honorees of the Foundation Awards. Children threw petals from windows and old men bowed with trembling reverence. There was old Marla, the healer who had devised herbal cures during a winter plague. There was Fen, a stonemason who had rebuilt bridges destroyed during the river's great flood. There was Leary, a schoolmistress from the mountain villages who had taught 3 generations to read. And dozens more, faces not carved into coins or sung in epic ballads, but whose deeds held together the fabric of the kingdom. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. As the guests arrived at the palace, they were welcomed not by servants, but by King Alarion himself. Clad not in royal robes, but in a tunic of deep violet and a sash bearing the symbols of all provinces, the king greeted each guest with a bow, not one of performance, but of respect. He shook hands with soot-covered fingers, listened intently to stories as if they were holy scripture, and called each guest by name. "You honor the throne more than the throne could ever honor you," he said more than once. The ceremony began just as the sun reached its zenith. A hush fell over the hall of Celestine as the king rose to speak. The golden circlet upon his brow shimmered as if it were alive. "My people," he began, "we stand today not as rulers and subjects, but as children of the same soil. We are woven into one tapestry, stitched not with crowns and swords, but with compassion, invention, and tireless hands. Today, we celebrate not a monarchy, but a foundation. The quiet architects of our tomorrow." His voice rang clear and true, like bells in a high tower. Then, with a graceful gesture, the awards began. Each honoree stepped forward as their story was told, not by ministers or announcers, but by villagers, friends, and students who had been touched by their actions. Their words were projected by magic into the air in flickering constellations, like stars forming living portraits of truth. The first to be honored was an elderly man named Joran, who had dug wells for 30 years in the deserts of the East. When he approached the dais, walking slowly with the help of a cane, the king descended from the throne and embraced him. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. "You gave water," Alarion whispered, "where even hope dared not flow. Then came twins, Mara and Juno, who had rescued a shipwrecked crew during a hurricane by sailing their tiny fishing boat into the maelstrom. And the crowd rose in applause when a shy young girl, no older than 16, named Alori, received an award for designing an enchanted seed that could grow food in arid soil, saving thousands during last year's drought. Each award took the form of a small glowing crystal, infused with light from the celestial flame that burned at the center of the royal hall. As they held it, each recipient felt a vision, the hands they'd helped, the hearts they'd lifted, the generations they'd shaped. But the most poignant moment came when no name was called. Instead, the king asked for silence. "Some foundations are invisible," he said. "Some labor in shadows, without thanks and without desire for recognition. And so today I bestow an unnamed honor to those who are not with us, but whose absence leaves footprints." A ghostly light filled the hall. Images shimmered, a nameless soldier who'd saved villagers from bandits, a mother who died nursing the sick during a plague, a farmer who gifted his land to a struggling neighbor. No one clapped, but many wept. And then, without warning, the music began again. Not stately, but joyful. A lilting, bounding melody played by wind harps and crystal drums. The solemnity melted into celebration. Tables appeared, groaning with food from every province. Roasted thistle root and sunfish. Fireberries soaked in cream. Wines bottled under dragon fruit trees. And laughter rang through the marble halls like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. The king danced with the children. He played flute with the village musicians. He listened to poems recited by old scribes and ate soup cooked by a kitchen maid from the western cliffs. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. No one left early. No one wanted to. When the moon rose, full and luminous, casting its silver glow on the castle towers, the final part of the ceremony began. The king led everyone outside to the mirror lake behind the palace, a body of water so still it reflected the sky like polished glass. There, he spoke once more. "A kingdom's strength is not in its armies or treasures," he said, "but in its memory. And so tonight, we make a memory eternal." With a quiet word, he released 1,000 floating lights onto the water. Each was a lantern bearing the name of someone who had made a difference, be it great or small. The lake became a galaxy, and every person watched their own light drift and glow beside countless others. "We are not bricks in a wall," said the king. "We are stars in a constellation." Silence fell again, this time warm, full, and eternal. The annual Foundation Awards ended not with farewells, but with promises. The guests did not leave feeling like visitors to a palace. They left as guardians of a shared story. In villages and cities, fields and forges, people spoke not of royal splendor, but of how they, too, could be part of the foundation. And in the years that followed, the phrase, "Let us build the foundation," became a greeting, a blessing, and a challenge. King Alarion's special ceremony became legend. But it wasn't the music, or the crystals, or the enchanted food that made it unforgettable. It was the revelation that greatness lives not in grandeur, but in goodness. And in Orleans, goodness had a throne. Subscribe the channel to get such videos.